Happy New Year. I hope you guys have had a good Christmas and you're ready for 2022, okay? By now, you guys should have gotten this. Okay, so by now you should have gotten this, and if you haven't finished it, maybe halfway through. I hope you're actually enjoying it, okay? So today I'm going to talk to you about how I bought a house at the age of 24 with only £2,000, I'm in the UK, in my pocket, okay? The house was £165,000 as well, and I managed to buy it whilst only having £2,000 in my pocket. First of all, I'll start in the beginning so you can get a clearer understanding of my mind frame, right? And why I think the way I do. What was, is, and always will be my greatest inspiration, my mother. So we'll start there. See, at a very early age, my mother was the first lady to sell Nestle products. She was in her 20s. This made her very wealthy. Until somebody went behind her back and Nestle wasn't loyal. But this is not about that. My mother, not only was she an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, she had businesses, has businesses. She also owns land. At one point had a factory, right? And a load of residential properties. My mother did not go to university, but she encouraged all of us to, right? However, at the age of 19, like I said in a previous video, due to my mother's teachings, I always knew money was a tool to better your circumstances. But it wasn't until I was 18. My cousin came from California on holiday. We're roughly around the same age. And he said to me, "What do you want to be when you're older?" And I said, "I want to own homes. I want to be like Mommy." I didn't know at the time that he was actually reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what he did was give me his book. I was very appreciative, but I didn't actually read it for the year. Because in my mind, I'm following my mother's blueprint. I don't need anybody else to tell me anything, right? But I was wrong. You see, what Rich Dad did was not only confirm what I knew, but it also taught me about assets and liabilities. It also stated that you can actually make wealth, you can create wealth with other people's money. Now, you say that to someone who's young, other people's money. I was thinking, okay, so I'm gonna have to steal this shit, or I don't know, business loans or something like that. That's other people's money in my mind, right? But when you read deeper into the book, you find out that credit, which is something that is available to everybody, is one thing that you can manage, and it can open doors for you. So at a very early age, 19, I applied for my first credit card. It started with only £500 at the time. No, tell a lie. It was 325. They gave me £325, Barclays, as a 19-year-old kid. I hated that card. I hated that card. I cut it up. I ain't even touch it. But by the time I was 22, I had 2 credit cards with £5,000 each in them. Leading up to 2004, the situation when it came to buying houses, you were able to buy a house for 10% deposit. You was also able to obtain interest-only mortgages, right? So after reading the book and realizing that credit was something that I could manage, at 23, at 23, I was living with my ex-wife now, okay? So I was living with my ex-wife and I said to her, hey, I've got £2,000 in my pocket, but I want to buy a house. You see, my plan was to always to buy the 4 houses, make myself financially free, and travel and find a place that I like to live and make something of myself, like do a business or something like that I can show my mother. And she told her dad, and her father said to her, I'll give you 10,000 if y'all will move out my flat. Because she was living in his flat at the time, and when my rent was due, she said, come stay with me. And I said, okay, I'll pay for everything. It's cheap, it's your dad's, you know, money staying in the family kind of thing. So, no problem. But when I mentioned it to her and he saw her get her out the house clause, it was like, okay, I'll give you 10 grand, move out. And when she said that, I was like, ooh, 10,000 plus my 10,000 should be enough to buy a house, right? But credit is funny. You have to really know how to use it. And in the next video that I do after this, it will be based on credit. So what I then did was I called the credit card companies and said to them, what is the maximum I can get? These are my details. I've been with you since I was 19. This was for the Barclays, and I think I had Virgin as well at the time. And I got that one at 20 or 21. Virgin gave me 9,700 on the balance. Barclays gave me 9,000 on the balance. So now I had 18,700, and all I needed was 10 grand in my head, plus her 10 grand makes 20, right? So what I then did was do a credit check. My credit check was really good, and so was hers. We bought the house together. Her money came from her dad, but my money only came when it was requested. Meaning, I went, I did the credit check, I spoke to a broker, got everything approved. When he asked me, do you have the money? I said, yes. And then he asked me, when will we see the money? And I asked him to tell me when he needed it, when they needed it for the deal to go through. He gave me a date. Back then, you had to wait 8 days before the balance transfers from your credit card into your bank account. Now it's instant, but you had to wait 8 days. So I then did the calculation from the date he gave me, when I'll make the phone call to get the money. And as soon as the money lands, I call him, go there, pay. And essentially that's what I did. When the money was necessary for the solicitor, who was 2,000 something, that was from the cash that I had. When it came to the broker having his payment, that was also from the cash that I had. But when it came to the actual deposit, when her 10 grand hit, it needed 6.5 for the actual deposit, because it was 16.5 1,000 we needed for the actual deposit, and then the legal fees, right? And stamp duty and so on and so forth to make the thing happen. So altogether it was 22,000. I took 5 grand from one card, 5 grand from another card, and that was it. We were both signing contracts and so on and so forth. Now, everything would have worked out perfectly had we had not moved into the property. Because buying the property, which is an asset, became a liability once I opened the door and made it my home. And that really is it. That's how I bought a house with a credit card. Balance transfer at the right time. Because you see, if you do a balance transfer before you have the approval from the mortgage company, your balance on your credit card will show up on your credit rating, which could spoil your loan or mortgage offers. So it's best to make sure these things are empty, right? So that they can fully give you the best rates, the best loan, right? And then when they have agreed upon everything, there's no more credit checking and filing that they need to actually do, then you do your balance transfer and buy your house. In order to get your credit up, like I said, I'll do that in the next video. But in this video, and also if you've read this book, you would have learned how to buy your house with a credit card. But what you need to do before you do anything silly and stupid is call a broker. Speak to them about the topics that I've just spoken about. If you know any accountants, if you know any mortgage people, call them, speak to them about the topics that I spoke about, and see if it's possible to still buy a house today with a credit card, other people's money. It's not difficult. You can even do it at an auction. You can do it at any time with any deal. As long as it's good debt and not bad debt, meaning the deal doesn't end up taking money out of your pocket, it only puts money into your pocket. And really, that's it. It's not difficult at all. All it takes is calculation, timing, and discipline. Don't get a credit card and spend the money on stupid shit. Learn about assets and liabilities. Learn about where you are in this rat race, and then make a change. If you live in a neighborhood that you don't like and you always aspire to live somewhere else, you can do it with credit. A lot of us, whilst growing up, our parents told us, don't get a credit card. Don't get a credit card. Because they don't want you spending and accumulating debt on some nonsense. But if you use it wisely and invest, I'll give you an example. Let's say I didn't live in the property and I rented it out. The money for the rent would have paid the mortgage and also the credit card. Essentially, I would have a house for free. Well, 12 grand. The credit card will be paid off in time and I can go again. Or you can go again. That's how you climb up the property ladder if you have little to no money. Credit. Take credit very seriously. It can change everything. Most of the people driving around in fancy cars and living in big old houses, how do you think they got it? Credit. Okay? It's like layaway for rich folks. Anyway, I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. I'm going to do the next video right now, but I'm going to post it in about 2-3 days. Just so that this one can sink in. And then when I tell you about credit and how you can attain credit, once again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm giving you my life experiences, and I want you to go and ask someone, speak to people, and get your mind churning how it needs to, right? You will resolve all problems if you think about it, okay? So, I'm going to see you guys in a few days, and I'll tell you about credit. Take it easy. So at the moment, this is the mining rig. There's 7 5600s at the bottom, 11080 Ti, 6700s, and a Vega 56. Someone asked about mining. I will be doing videos on mining, but I'm no expert, so I'll put a link of someone I follow for you to get a good idea of what it is.